Good evening, all. Hopefully, you can hear me all right. I'm going out okay. Waiting for responses on chat on that one, but I'm on lower latency, so I don't have as long to wait for you guys to kind of get back to me and let me know that it's all working okay or not? Question mark. I'm not quite sure where we're gonna land on this one. Hopefully, it's working okay. I really do hope that it is. But yeah, let's find out. Let me know. Can we hear? Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Hopefully we can. Good, fantastic. Good evening to Socially Confused, to Stakaragord, Ray, Wiggy1, Wells, Speaks No Evil, Zimfella, AV, Limited Respawns. Good to see you all. It's really good to have such a populated chat so early on in the stream. I'm chuffed. And of course, that's only because of one reason, and that would very much be, of course, that we have the launch of 323. Came out late on Friday. Like, really late. I think it was gone midnight. It was almost 2 o'clock in the morning here. So, yes. Wiki says, I can hear you so well, I can tell just by the sound of the voice that you've recently had a cup of tea. I have indeed at that, my friends. Not just a cup of tea, I had a Sunday fish and chips as well. So I'm feeling incredibly British at this stage. Even more so than normal. Good evening, Jadomo. Good to see you, bud. Loads to talk about, because 323 has finally hit. And yeah, I'm really interested to know your thoughts, and obviously I will give you mine as well. And I'm really keen to give it another go, trying on stream, seeing whether or not we do the PowerPoint Star Citizen experience, where you get 1 frame a second or something like that, or whether we can actually hold up to it. As many as you know, as many of you know, I don't have a 2 PC streaming setup. It's something that I'm working towards, and I've had enough people ask that I'm considering something like a Patreon or a coffee or whatever the other kind of things are. I kind of talk to people about maybe PayPal, because then you don't lose the fees. But I think a lot of people feel that they're a lot safer with the known platforms, and I'm completely happy with that. So we'll give it a go, and I think slowly what I'll do is I'll try and build up the stuff to have a second PC. I'm also looking at changing my ISP at some point in the near future, in order to have a lot more bandwidth to play with, because I think that might be something. And my current ISP is a bit pants. Good evening to Rash, to Hargrim as well. Good to see you all. We've had a really good time getting all of our overdrive stuff done in preparation for 323. If you don't, you have a limited time left before it goes live. I've just realised, if you're watching this on the live, that there is not a link to the Discord in the description. There will be when this video gets saved, so hang around, check again about an hour after the stream, and there will be a link to the Discord, because if you need to do any of the overdrive before it finally winds up, I would suggest before Invictus starts next week, then we can help people out. We've been doing them Wednesdays and Fridays, so Wednesday is going to be the night to get you guys through. Really interesting response to the poll. 75% of the people at the moment who've responded have said yes. 25% therefore saying no. So yeah, Wiggy, what I would do if you haven't done any of Overdrive at all is get started as quickly as possible. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's only the final phase now of Overdrive that's still available, or is everything still available? I don't know, I lost track around about the point that, like, we got everyone that was currently playing through it, and I kind of went, and I can't remember what they said. I know that they had problems with the final stage, they did bug fixes, I think they've now opened it, they were talking about opening it to all of the missions. But seriously, if you haven't done them, get them started. They take a long time to get them done. So start as quickly as you can. Everything seems to be available. Perfect. We will get through as many people as we can this time on Wednesday. So 6 minutes ago, Wednesday night. We will get everything done. If you're available for that, then please do, Wiggy. And if you're not already in the Discord, I can link one to you now. I'll do that in chat. So there's a chat replay for those people that are kind of kicking around for that news. So bear with me 2 seconds. I shall just do the stuffs. No, that's not what I wanted to do at all. What I wanted to do was that. There you go. That should get you into the Discord. And then once we're done here, you won't have the role when you get there. I'll need to assign it to you because I haven't set up the bot to do that yet. I will sort you out before I go to bed today. And I'll be going to bed almost immediately after the stream because, So, what have people's impressions been of 323? Because I'm a bit all over the place with it. It feels like to me that so much has changed in such a short space of time. I feel like I'm relearning the game from scratch. One of the things that I didn't do when Master Modes went into Arena Commander, I didn't go into Arena Commander mainly because, well, two things basically. You started off in combat range of other people, which is the last step. that's like, okay, so we have this huge fight, we're going to take the last 20 seconds and that's what we're going to make people play over and over and over again. And then expect that to be representative of Master Modes, and that didn't feel right to me. And also, the PTU, I just have a really bad, I don't know whether it's me, my ISP, or what, I just have a really bad experience of it in the PTU. I feel like the PTU is buggy enough without doing the PTU as well. So I had my first experience over the weekend. Some of the guys, Jadomo, Rash, and Bloodsnuck, if you're hiding around, will know that I've had a good go at this now this weekend. Couple of frustrations, but I went and explored some of the distribution centres, and oh my god. And that's what I'm hoping to show you. I'm hoping to do a little bit of EVA stuff, do a little bit of an explain on the Master Modes and my initial thoughts on it, because I'm not going to lie, I haven't flown enough to tell whether or not I'm getting on with it or not, or whether it's just the learning curve of learning new systems or revamped systems. So I don't know yet, but I have thoughts. And then I want to talk about the distribution center, and I want to show you guys kind of what I found and that sort of stuff. So yeah, fantastic. Good evening, Biggerfoot. Bloodsnook, you're kind of lurking in the background. Most issues are skills issues, not a truer word spoken. Neil B, good evening. Have you seen the Polaris fly around? I would be interested in your views on armament changes and placements. We can certainly have a look. If we get the time a little bit later on, I want to get into the meat of 323 before we do anything else, because I keep getting accused of going off topic too early on. So I want to get into the meat of 323, but we can actually have a look at that. I want to have a look at a couple of the rumours for Invictus, and spoilers, and I will warn you again when it's coming. But there have been some paints that have been leaked. Don't know how legit they are, because the photos don't look particularly professional. But this wouldn't be the first time we've had stuff leaked. There's also a couple of things in there that make me think they're legit, and I'll take you through that later. But we'll have a look a little later on at just exactly what those are. Cool. It's because you are all the all the ships now, even in nav mode, ships are 4 times so it takes 4 times as long just flying somewhere. I don't know. In nav mode, I get it in combat mode in SCM, but in nav mode I think they're doing all right, and it's kind of just changed my flight profile. Rather than flying close to the surface, I kind of drop down in on stuff, which is, I don't know. Maybe that's helpful. Maybe it's not. Bloodsnuck says, "Evening Badger. So far, my impression has been really good. Only had one crash all day. Relearning the changes to flight has been the biggest change for me, but adoption has been steady. Cool." Stakara says, "I like the changes. I've had very smooth experiences since it came out. Already in millions of AUEC. You disgust me, Stack. You're a monster." Speaking of Monster AV says, lots of changes. Lots still to change, but with Modularity, point one modularity being in is massive, so major win. So point patch, we've got modularity coming. They're also likely starting some tweaks to ships like the Tally, getting 6 shields to help balance. Holy moly, 6 shields. Don't know if it needs that many. Wiggy says, I'm the same with master modes, don't like the mode switching myself, it feels clunky. And then Biggerfoot says they've nerfed every single ship to produce more sales by switching ships. If everything's been nerfed, there's no point in switching because everything relatively has stayed the same, right? Assuming they've all been kind of nerfed at the same rate. Randy Morris, good evening, good to see you. Fear, hello, good to see you all. Right, whilst we are talking and I'm responding to chat, let's have a very quick look at exactly what has been changed and what's come out. There is so much in this, I'm not going to line by line it, because it's going to take basically far too long. But this is what we're looking at now. Let's go here, shall we? Okay, I'm really hoping. There's a lot of background noise. I don't know why there's a lot of background noise, but there is. Is the background noise bothering you guys? Because I don't know whether it's... I've got a fan running in the background, but I'd have to go the other side of the room and get up and walk around stuff to go get that. So if it's bothering you, let me know. But I'm hoping that it isn't. Well, let me know if it let me know if it is bothering you. And yeah, good evening, Del. Good evening, Zim. Can't hear it. Okay, it's just really interesting. So I'm looking at my mic thing, and it says that there's some background noise, but hopefully that's sorted. This is normally why I have some music on low, and then I have those problems where it gets really loud, because to cut out all the background noise, because I've got the windows open. It's quite warm here at the minute in the UK, and by warm I mean it's above freezing. You know, and there's stuff going on where I live, so I need to be a little bit careful about having the windows open. There is some, said Blussnack. Yeah, I thought there might have been. Let's have a look. I wonder if... I'm hoping that might just... No more. Okay, well that's fine. I can have a little bit of a play whilst I'm doing this, so that's fine. Don't mind me. Oh, think we just fixed it. Great success. Great success. Cool. So that's fixed. Great stuff. Happy days. Okay, so going through then, there's an awful lot of stuff in here. We'll just take them generally line by line, but there's your headlines, right? Character customizer, distribution centers, animals, the Copion and the Marek. Copion's the cat, dog thing, and the Marek is the bird. Mobiglass, StarMap, EV82, player interaction, FPS, salvage, armistice salvage, medical gun polish, new ground vehicles being the Mirai Pulse, and then the key thing here has been lots and lots of tech stuff. So we've obviously focused as a community, quite rightfully so, on a lot of the gameplay stuff, and it's been about getting, you know, kind of distribution centers in, and oh my god, StarMap, oh my god, StarMap, oh my god, StarMap, and everything else that's gone in as well. The key thing, and I think this is going to kind of hint at where I'm going to go with what I think of 323, is there's been a massive tech change as well. And whilst it is far smoother, it's orders of magnitudes better than 318, it has not been without issue, unfortunately. But we'll get into that a second. And you might well know where I'm going with this if you've watched the 323 hour-long episode that they did with Rich Tyrer and the crew. But yeah, lots of people says server improvements has increased, says Bloodsuck. Monster Avy says performance definitely seems better. I agree. I'm getting a casual kind of 40-45 frames now in and around Lorville, which at one stage was dropping below Horizon because after the rework and stuff, they still had optimization issues. So yeah, 100%. Performance is really, really nice. So Wells says, really not a fan of master modes. It is just another inconvenience or time sink that they throw at us. Yeah, we'll come into master modes in a second, and maybe I'll get to do some gameplay with that. Zim says, had a break from Star Citizen for a few months, so living on the edge. I did a delivery box mission to get me familiar with the new flight mechanics. Love the new character creator. Yeah, the new character creator is a lot of fun. Yeah, lots to do there. Glad that I can now have a beard. That's exciting. That's kind of key for me, obviously. I've been carefully cultivating the one that I have. So it's nice to have that reflected in game. But yeah, so I think, the key thing in here, and is it doesn't really kind of talk about it, is we've got master modes, right? So, right, master modes. Should we just get into this? Should we just take the bull by the horns and go rah with master modes? Right. Master modes. Two modes, SCM and nav, and SCM weapons are active, shields are active, but you're much slower. Nav, you are able to quantum and do all those sorts of things. And that'll obviously be the mode where, looking further on down the line, we quantum boost, we do all those sorts of stuff. So it's setting up for all those features that you're going to come across from Squadron, like the boosting from one location to another, like the having to stabilize within the quantum bubble for the first few seconds of flight, and then moving on. So I think the way I'll go about it is this. They're trying to solve a number of issues. The big one that everyone talks about is the jousting in flight. That's kind of key, is that all the flying seems to be fly at each other, come back, fly at each other again. And that is certainly the case with the AI. Even now, even after the patch, people are talking about getting flown into by the AI. The AI just comes straight at you, doesn't veer away, and just slams into you, right? And people are getting rammed left, right, and centre by the AI. There are other features in there as well that are just a factor of calculating stuff on in an MMO. And that's the issue between client-side kind of calculations versus server calculations. So what you see on your screen might not be precisely what the server's calculating. And as you increase the speeds of travel, those errors will exponentially increase, especially in space when you're talking cones of fire in a 3D environment. The relation doesn't quite work the way you would think it would do, right? So that's what they're trying to solve. My first thought about master modes is it doesn't feel like a system that they are going to settle on. Not initially, right? The way it is at the moment. And I think a big part of that is there seem to be some serious variances in the way things maneuver and the way things are set up. What I mean by that, generally, are the SCM speeds across all the ships. The SCM speeds don't seem to make sense to me, and the problem with that is if it doesn't make sense to a group of us, then the whole system's not going to make sense, because we can't see the bigger picture behind it. We experience it through ships, and when you're flying something like the Spirit that's supposed to be incredibly fast at 180 or whatever an SCM speed is, I did it today, we'll find out in a minute when I give it a flight, and then you're told that the Polaris is faster. It's like, well, hang on a second. We were told that there was going to be an inverse relationship, that fighters and smaller ships were going to start up here in speed, bigger ships were going to start down here, and then the relationship was going to switch. So when you look at quantum speeds, bigger ships would be faster in quantum, smaller ships would be slower in quantum. So a Bengal going from A to B is going to be incredibly slow until you put it in quantum. And quantuming from ArcCorp to Microtech should be much, much quicker than smaller ships, right? Good morning, Shinobi, in your time zone. Good to see you. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense to me that we've got ships like the Perseus and ships smaller than that are being told that they're barely 100 SCM, and then we're being told that the Polaris is going to be 200 and something. Doesn't make sense. Really doesn't make sense. And I know it's got a load of big thrusters strapped to the back. So does the Perseus. Look at the whole series. Their entire back end is thrusters. Right? So it doesn't make sense. And the problem is, if that doesn't work, and you're lumping all these changes in together, and then you have to choose between SCM or nav, it's going to exacerbate any small kind of weird irregularity between ship speeds is going to be so much more magnified by the fact that you're limited to that in SCM. So I think that's my first thought, is that I get it, and I hear, and it's something I've often said myself. The actual numbers are easy for them to tweak. They just type another line in, right? They take 210 away and replace it with 110, and they've changed the top speed. And then all I've got to do is change the acceleration curve, because I doubt it's just a straight linear progression. If it is, that would be boring. So I get that. But if it doesn't feel right between all the ships, then you're going to have what we had in Arena Commander, which is people getting panicked because now their fighters are getting chased down by hammerheads, and all this sort of stuff. They're not able to get out of range very quickly. All this, that, and the other thing. So that's my first idea with master modes. The second is I don't like what they've done with cruise control. I know some people do like it, and I know some people don't. I just think it's an unnecessary change. I don't know what they've achieved with the cruise control numbers, with the changing controls. That doesn't make sense to me. You put it in cruise control and you change the speed. This whole idea of you change it and then you push the speed and this, that, and the other. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I haven't done a lot of switching out of combat whilst in nav mode or whilst in SCM to nav mode, so I really can't talk about that change at the moment. All I can say is when I do so in the ships that I've flown up until now, which have been the Spirit, the Gladiator, the Hornet Mark II, what else have I flown? I've flown the Vulture, I've flown the Retaliator. There's one other that I'm missing. Pisces and something else. Oh, the other one will come to me, I'm sure of it. But Sulen. The speed at which all your shields and that collapse is terrifying. And I get it. I know what they're trying to do. It just, that transition doesn't feel right to me at the moment. I'm not advocating that people's shields should stay tanky in order for them to escape. Similarly, I'm not advocating for a sudden shield collapse and for people to die before they can run. I really don't know how they can fix that. It just doesn't feel right at the moment. But what do you guys think? How have you guys found nav modes? And there's another thought that I'm still kind of putting together in the back of my head, but we'll come to that in a second. Wiggy1 says, I'm currently hoping that CIG further separate nav mode from SCM, but learning more into the upcoming quantum changes, and then adjust the velocity of the SCMs upwards and the ship speeds to the power triangle. Yeah, it feels, I don't know, quite important to have fighters be fighters and have capitals be capitals. The problem, as far as I can see at the moment, there's something like 100 ships, there's over 100 ships in the game right now, or coming to the game, with a lot more planned, clearly, and a lot more coming even past those that are planned. The current max SCM speed doesn't feel like it's high enough to give everyone enough of a gap between 0 and the fastest SCM in the game. There's not enough gap to really have variation. It feels like right now. And I know that's going to be changed with handling characteristics, acceleration curves, deceleration curves, and, the atmospheric flight models and all that sort of stuff. That's all going to change. But it doesn't feel like, you're right, that speed does feel like it needs to be adjusted upward. Now, it might be that they can't because of the problems that I'm talking about before, about the problems with calculating hit registry and all that sort of stuff at very high speeds. But we have been managing at 1,000 meters a second. It's not been great, but it's not been awful either. Even at the server FPS that we experience at the moment, which is, let's face it, lower than the average temperature here in the UK, which is not a lot. So yeah, there's that. But 100% agree, all of those. Sakuragod says, I find nav mode mostly. When I'm 10k out from a hostile area, I switch to SCM. I always keep aware of the radar and nav. Once you get used to it, it's not a big deal. Yeah, the being in nav mode bit is quite comfortable, actually. I quite like it. And I do like everyone that's played Star Trek. What are the two, or that's watched Star Trek? What are the two things they say every time bad guys turn up? Yeah, two things they say: shields up, red alert. They don't fly around with their shields on, right? And I know I'm taking a fictional thing and using it as an example, but we'll talk military, right? Driving warships around the sea for 12 years, right? I can probably count in weeks out of those 12 years where our weapon systems were ready to go, right? With rounds in, with radars active, with people closed up. That means at their stations ready to go in weeks. Warships don't operate like this. All this stuff you see in films of all of a sudden, there's the ship's in the middle of nowhere doing nothing. Something happens, all of a sudden, all the mounts are and point. That's not how ships work, because that's a huge amount of manpower. That's a huge amount of energy and effort. Those people need to be up 24/7, or you need someone at that post 24/7, which means you need to start putting on extra meals, because people will do 6-hour shifts, which in the Navy is normally 7 till 1, 1 till 7. So you have breakfast, lunch, dinner, but then you need a midnight meal. So now you're burning through your food more. And it just, honestly, it's not like that. So the whole idea of driving around without shields is a really nice one. I like that a lot. Avi says, killed some Copians, never saw the birds. Yep, we killed some Copians. I watched Edison rather scarily knife one to death. That was a little bit terrifying. He's weird. Don't go into caves with that man. He's scary. But yes. Wiggy says, everything else in the update is bloody marvellous. UI needs a little adjustment, but nothing much. Yep, this patch would have been a success for me with just the tech and star map. Love the star map, the search, and the history. Makes navigation so much easier. Yeah, there's a couple of things with the map that they could do, like it's really hard sometimes if you click on a location and then move your mouse pointer over another location going towards the quantum thing. It seems to change off, so you need. Yeah, I use the search function more than I do clicking on the map stuff. Unless you make it that, like when you're looking at the planet, you make it the side of the planet closest to the search bar, because you click and then when you move your mouse, you're not going over anything. That works too, but it's a bit fiddly. But yeah, the refinements will come, I'm sure. It's not going to stay like that. Heart for Lawville says Bloodsnot. Yeah, a fan of Lawville. Something I found annoying, says Shinobi, is in 323, you can't transport any ship guns or size 2 components in ship inventory or an 8 SCU box. Yeah, we'll come back to that in a minute, mate. I just want to kind of have the master modes thing out with everyone, and then we'll come back to the features, just so I'm not jumping around. My brain, it can't do it anymore. What on that note, I just need some extra caffeine because that cup of tea was not enough. Apparently, 4 hours sleep last night was not sufficient for me to function and keep talking to you all. So I'm only on a cola, but cheers. Good evening, Ravenfort. Not a name I recognise, but good evening. Good to see you. Okay, Wiggy says, I think nav mode be fixed by having another form of shielding specifically for nav mode to protect against broader spectrum energies. That'll make sense for me. Yeah, maybe this is something that the resource network will overcome. So the idea that we'll have capacitors or batteries, maybe what we'll be able to do is at the moment, because they don't exist, when you switch stuff off, the shields just disappear. Maybe in those gaps, the batteries provide or the capacitors provide that charge. That would be really, really kind of cool to have that. So the bigger the vessel, the more batteries you have for people to burn through before you get there, the capacitors, that sort of stuff. So that for me makes sense, and it kind of fills what you're saying, and they can do that within that upcoming system, because of course you've got relays, which are like the fuse things, but there will be batteries and that sort of stuff that they can charge up, and also when you come into SCM mode, having the sort of capacitors on combat vessels that can instantly bring your weapon systems up to full charge and all that sort of stuff. That would be cool as well, right? So that would be really useful. But yes, 100%. Think armor is intended to fill that gap, says AV, but it's not in or working properly. No, there is a very basic system tied to Maelstrom, or sorry, to precursor Maelstrom, but of course it's just a straight up damage reduction, and that it doesn't work like that. Whereas we're hoping, we don't know yet, but we're hoping that the new armor system will be a little bit more based around penetration, angles of penetration, something a little bit more detailed. Maybe not quite to the extent of something like World of Tanks or World of Warships, but not far off. The idea that some rounds can just ding, some rounds can reduce armor but not do a lot of damage, some rounds can penetrate, some rounds can over penetrate, all that sort of stuff would be kind of cool, and quite realistic. So yeah, just gonna jump through and have a look. So I'm just gonna skip ahead. If I'm missing a comment, it's not intentional. I'm just gonna have a look at nav mode comments and master mode comments. But yeah, that's that. I know, but I want it now, says Rash. 100%. Evening, Chris. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you, mate. We have, gents, a verified legend in the chat. Rescue Shrek. I worked with him previously. Works in search and rescue. As did I, or as do I. Yeah, absolute legend. Chris, I hear that it's all come to an end for you at Tower, and that. So we will have to catch up, my friend. It would be really good. Tell me you've got your Citizen Con tickets, right? Because we'll see you there. Because it's close to you. It's Manchester. It's like half the distance. So we'll see you. We'll see you at Citizen Con, right? Yeah. No. You're all good, Masha. You're all good, my friend. It's good to see you, buddy. Um, Ooh, TBC Trek. All right. Well, you and I will be talking. Also, first off, you will be coming to Citizen Con because there. Good. Okay, so that's kind of where we are on nav mode. So at the moment, doesn't feel like a finalized system. I haven't done enough combat in it yet to really overcome just the learning curve because there's a huge learning curve in 323. So I don't feel like I'm there yet. I have thought for a long time that flying should become not necessarily more. What was the word that you used earlier? Someone talked about it being like yeah, wells. That's right. Another inconvenience or time sink. I do feel like it needs to become a little bit more challenging. Just because, like, for example, in Armour, and I keep going back to this, but it's the best example that I've got. Landing the plane every single time, you can't do it on autopilot. Forgive the joke, but you can't just easy peasy lemon squeezy it. It doesn't let you, and Rescue Shrek will be able to confirm that for me because he flies in an advanced model. You absolute nutter. But every time you land, you've got to watch your sink rate. You've got to watch your speed. You've got to watch where your flaps are. You've got to watch the attitude of the aircraft. You've got to make sure that you don't come in too hard. You can trash the landing gear. You can bounce. You can just explode on impact. You can do all those things. But if you monitor your sink rate, your speed, the altitude of the aircraft, where your flaps are, the fact your gear's down, keeping your wings level, all that sort of stuff, then you will have a successful landing if you do that every single time. It's just there's a lot to watch at once. More so than when I just fly loops around a combat area until I'm called in. That's easy. I just put the mouse on angle, and every so often I tap S, which brings my nose up, which keeps me going in a circle. I can do that without watching. I can sit and watch something on my phone. And that's kind of where some of the flight stuff feels like for Star Citizen at the minute. Is okay, we've got to switch through modes, but coming into land, whatever. The only ships I know that are a bit of a challenge are the much bigger ones. The Reclaimer at one stage didn't feel so much landing as controlled falling out of atmosphere. And I actually really like that because landing it without exploding and ripping a great big crater in the planet felt meaningful. And I think they've needed to go that some way. They go that way sometimes, but 9 out of 10 times, yeah. And then sometimes you just get armored, bounce into the sky in a massive fireball. But yeah, that's it. I haven't yet Tier Zero, but first of all, good to see you, buddy. It's a really good point, actually. I'll just finish my thoughts on nav modes, or master modes, which is adds a little bit of challenge, which I'm pleased with because now we've got to switch between the modes like that. Doesn't the combat and jury's still out? I'll talk a little bit more about that next week, I'd imagine. The switching of modes doesn't feel right. Like nav mode in isolation, SCM mode, I just feel, as we've said, feels too confused because the top speeds of the ships, they don't make sense. And if they don't make sense, then nothing about SCM mode is gonna feel right. SCM mode, or is it just SCM? Yeah, that. So yeah, and you're entirely right, Tier Zero. The UI does feel too big now. I like it. I like how it looks. It just feels like someone's kind of highlighted it all and selected bold, and they just need to not do that and make it less and make it more about me looking out of the window. What I'd really appreciate is the option to have all of the stuff that they have, the pitch roll, all of that. Chris, help me out here. What's that called? The ball that sits in the console. So rather than having your 5 degrees, 10 degrees as you go up, have that in the console instead, proving your wings level and stuff. Help me out here, buddy. I'm struggling. I'm flailing a little. But that sort of stuff feels like it would be much better in the console. So I've got to look out the window. I've got the window to look out of, as opposed to just being fed the nonsense. Why is my camera being weird? Thanks, camera. But yeah, angular bank. Yeah, the little circle, the little circular dial that moves as you go up. The ball rotates and shows you where you're. Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, that thing. But yeah, UI needs tweaking, 100%. They still need to do out the lens flare and all that sort of stuff, so that needs to work as well. Landing should be the scariest part of any flight. Takeoffs are optional. Landings are compulsory, says Shrek. And as a helicopter pilot, this man would know. We need to listen to this man because he knows all about it. But yes, 100%. So yeah, it isn't so hard to fly the Reclaimer, although it's one of the ships you have to put some effort in. Yeah, 100%, Macho. It got better. There was why does it feel right or make sense? So at the moment, what doesn't feel right about flying? That's probably a better way of putting it, Macho. I think is that one of the things that doesn't feel right at the moment is that if I'm flying a plane in armor, I need to be at the plane. If I'm flying something, I need to be with it. I need to be doing things with it. I need to be monitoring stuff. I need to be doing the role of a pilot, even if it is much simplified for a game. What I don't like at the moment is take one of the biggest. Let's take the least aerodynamic thing I can think. Caterpillar, right? That thing's a flying shoebox, right? It's got all the aerodynamics of my post office, right? If I get a knock on the door, or I just want to go and grab a drink from downstairs while I'm flying that thing, I can stop it in midair. I can walk away from the computer, I can come back and it'll still be there. Just hanging. This shoebox with thrusters hanging in midair in atmosphere. There's no skill attached to that whatsoever, right? That doesn't feel right at all. Because if you want people to have a pilot role, then you've got to give enough for them to do. Especially when you start talking about ships like the Carrack size and above, where the pilot doesn't control anything else, they're just flying the ship. If I can do that by wedging a spoon in my keyboard to hold the W key down, that's not enough gameplay to occupy that person. So it needs to be a little bit more involved than that. And, don't get me wrong, in nav mode, sitting in a high atmosphere, just putting cruise control on autopilot's fine. But much closer to the ground, it still isn't. I can do crazy things close to the ground. It doesn't matter whether I'm in VTOL mode or not. And I know a lot of these changes are coming with the atmospheric flight model, where thrusters will overheat depending on the type of ship. Their weight, what it's built like, will alter how long it can take hanging, but there's certainly elements of that to it as well. So yeah. SCM precision in cruise mode. Yeah, so we had the whole helicopter mode, didn't we, where you had to come in and you kind of tilt forward like a helicopter and that would bring you forward, or tilt back and that would bring you back, tilt to the side and that would maneuver you. I don't have problems with there being elements of that in the game. I quite like that. But yeah. Lots of chat going on. I'm going to do my best to keep up, but you guys are having at it in chat, and rightly so. Be nice if COG lets us adjust the size of icons on the HUD, or let us move things around. Probably too much to hope for at this stage, though. Yeah, 100%. Evening, Jock. Good to see you, buddy. In 323 now, enjoying it so far. Takes a little getting used to, but it's step in a good direction. Good. Oh, Wiggy, mate, I'm a fan of the Caterpillar. I just think it has the aerodynamics of a post office. Cat and Atmos should be just terrible, and it's not at the moment. 100%. So things like the let's take the Hercules. Right, the Hercules should be incredible in atmosphere and awful in space. And by awful, I mean like its stopping distance should be huge. Because it's shaped like a plane, it doesn't have those flat surfaces or surfaces to get big thrusters to retrograde it to move side to side, right? The cat should be the opposite of that. The cat should be an absolute pig, and landing it in atmosphere should be something you need to concentrate on in exactly the same way that when you run around a bunker, you need to concentrate on what you're shooting at, because otherwise you'll hit friendlies or you'll get shot to pieces or whatever. It should be the opposite way around. The cat should be a dream to fly in Atmo because it's got all these solid sides, loads of places to put retro thrusters and maneuvering thrusters and do its thing. In Atmo, absolute pig. But yeah, 100%. Well, we had that with the previous patch, as Macho, ships hanging there, so nothing to do with masterminds. No, it's not, but it is. So it's not something to do with master modes. but master modes might be the solution, right? Because if the problem is that it's too easy to fly ships, you can just abandon them at any stage of their flight, and they'll just keep doing what they do, even if that means hanging in atmosphere, nose down, like a caterpillar, nose down like that, for as long as you want. Like, if the game would let you stay logged in for a day, you could come back a day later. You just sat like that, unless you run out of hydrogen fuel. Maybe master modes is the answer by making it more challenging alongside the atmospheric flight model and everything else. I mean, maybe the atmospheric flight model by itself is enough of an answer. Don't know. But there's certainly that sort of thing to consider. Yeah. I can do the same with the well-trimmed Harrier and DCS. Yeah, absolutely. But, that's not something I, as a brand new pilot, could do, Tia, right? So if I came to DCS, it's the first time I downloaded the Harrier and tried to hang it there, I'm going to be all over the place. Like, let's face it, if I try and fly DCS in a plane I haven't gone into before, I ain't getting off the ground because I don't know the startup procedure. And I'm not suggesting for a second Stussa doesn't go to that extent, but they certainly could do something to make it a little bit more rewarding to pull off flight. At the moment, it's just flying on easy mode. Hover mode actually made more sense as Macho, but people thought it was too hard, so it had to go. Yeah, and this is one of the really interesting things, Macho, I think, is that Daily Noob, and for those that haven't been across, I will go and find his channel now. He streams over on Twitch. He does a really, really good job. I'm just going to copy that. He's actually over there at the moment. He's streaming. Really, really good streamer. Really chill. He has said, he made an interesting point, which was, that's his channel there, which was that if we'd had the game without coupled, if everyone had just had to learn decoupled from the start, no one would blink an eyelid. It's just the way you fly in that game. And sure, there'll be people who'll be like, I don't like this, it's too complicated, or it's too hard to learn, there's too much of a skill curve to it. Some people might not have liked it that were in the game, but it also would have attracted people who think that it's too easy to fly. So you just shift your demographic slightly. And also, it's far easier to do that than it is to then suddenly remove coupled from the game. Because if they were to try and do that, people would whinge. If it was never in to begin with, it wouldn't have been an issue. But yeah, 100%. Yeah, Tizero, Harrier comment was a joke. Yeah, if you sneeze, you're just, yeah, dead. But yeah, absolutely. It needs to be inherently unstable, like a helicopter on a hover, says Rescue. Yeah, so certainly for ships that are just holding in midair, first off, they should be as level as they can be. Maybe they hover slightly nose up or nose down, depending on where the weight is. For example, the Merlin helicopter, when it hovers like that because there's a lot of weight back aft with all the engine and the gearbox. So the Merlin actually hovers like that, but the rotors are like this. So the aircraft basically hangs under the rotor disc. So the aircraft hangs like that with the rotors like that. So yeah, something like that would be really, really cool. But yes, it's an interesting challenge for sure. Let's go back to chat just for a second. Yeah, because then you can see what I mean a little bit more. But yes, the Merlin, rather than being flat, hangs like that. I've got to be careful doing that hand gesture. I've just realised YouTube is going to demonetize me. I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. They talked about VTOL overheat and whatnot. Yeah, they did, Rash, absolutely, within the confines of atmospheric flight model. So yeah, you can't now just hang in the air because your thrusters will be on a cooldown. Obviously, when you're moving, more thruster, and actually the aerodynamics of the aircraft is taking over. And Chris will be able to confirm this. For helicopters, hover is the most dangerous because your engines are working the hardest. When you add the forward momentum, the rotors don't actually have to. The engines aren't working as hard to keep the aircraft in flight. And obviously with ships, aircraft, you know, with wings and stuff. They're going to find it much easier. Hence why I say the Hercules is a really good example, and the Caterpillar's not bad. Not a good one. Yay! See, Chris, I'm getting it right. I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm listening. Yeah, there you go. Forward flight in a helicopter is so much easier and stable. Yeah, so coming into VTOL should be the challenging bit. The flying around doesn't need to be challenging at all. Plus, I'm still annoyed we have this quantum travel in Atmos. Shouldn't be possible. Makes zero sense to me. Kind of like the idea of the Serenity, the Firefly, like doing it in Atmos should be dangerous and damaging to the ship and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I get that. I get that. Jotcop says, I don't mind non-VTOL ships being able to hang in air, but it needs to be heavy on fuel use and component burnout, and the pilot should need to keep making adjustments to hold you steady. Yeah, and that looks like what the atmospheric flight model, the bits that they were talking about at CitizenCon, the idea of stalling or bring the nose down, which increases speed, which increases airflow over the control surfaces, which gives you back control of the aircraft, as long as you're at enough height to be able to do something about it when you get back control. Because if you're too close to the floor, obviously, you will land for the last time. So yeah, but only when you walk away from it. So yeah, there's that sort of stuff in the game, and that kind of works really well. What I did want to have a look at, so I've just got this, and I want to let's pause this. So someone asked me earlier, and I forgot who it was. I do apologize, but someone asked me earlier about whether or not I had flown the Polaris in game. The answer is no. Or sorry, seen the Polaris in game. The answer is no. However, I do have, and spoilers if you don't want to see this, I am going to put the Polaris up. It's going to take about a minute and 30 seconds. So look away now, come back a minute and 30 seconds later. But this is what it looks like in the game. So this is it currently in game at the minute. What the exterior looks like, how it's panned out with a dead dude floating around the front, which is kind of cool. But yeah, quite a significant ship. I can see why people like it. I can also see why people keep saying, you know, for a little bit of money more than a Perseus, you can get something this big and this beefy. I get it. It's a very, very good looking ship. A very good looking ship. If anyone wants that, by the way, it's in the Discord, in the either I think it's the SC chat. So you feel free to go and have a look. But yeah, very, very good looking, very, very good looking ship. Even got a missile turret at the back. It looks like there. Engines look tough. You got all the protrudy bits, which we like. And I need to cut back now, because I said to people to come back in 90 seconds. You are also safe now because we've taken that off the screen. So that's the end of me showing off the Polaris. Feel free to go back and have a look if you want to. But yeah, incredibly good looking ship. Ridiculous amount of health, ridiculous weapons loadout. But of course, the problem is, as we were talking about this in my Discord earlier today, and someone made the very good point that we have no capital ships to compare it to combat like that. So it's the first of its class. So we have no idea where it sits. All we have is a capital versus non-capital comparison, which doesn't really help. And no, I'm not taking the 890 jump as an example. That absolutely does not count. I do not accept that as a comparison. But yeah, got one of my buybacks at Jotcop. I'll see if the Perseus is enough ship for me. Can always upgrade. Of course, the Perseus will be enough ship. The Perseus is enough ship for any real man. Sorry, dude. Yeah, no, 100%. Good looking if you have the crew to run it, says Dakara Good. Yeah, really, really interesting. The one thing I think is really interesting with this sort of stuff is that the the windows are all still blacked out. and that sort of stuff, so we can't see inside, which indicates that it's not yet of a flyable model. So yeah, we'll have to see. Hoping that it makes it in for next week. Doubting that it will make so. Good evening, Sebastian. Question regarding the possible design for the UEE cruiser that others have pointed out from the trailer. Is there any reason why it would look so similar to a Bengal carrier? So yes and no. I think there are real world and in-game reasons. The in-game reason would be that it would make sense to use the same sort of hull because it streamlines the manufacturing process. The real-world reason is if you use the same hull and just give it turrets and not a big bridge like the other one, you can get it in the game faster, and you don't have to go through the whole process of designing a new ship. And what you can then do is you don't give that one to players, you give the players something else, and you make that specifically UEE Navy. Just like the Bengal will be UEE Navy, although we will be able to do something with the Bengal gameplay wise, although they haven't 100% defined that what it is. But yes, I think I know what it is that you're talking about. Are you talking about the one from the Squadron 42 I held the line stuff? Is that what we're talking about? Because there is, you'll see it in the background. For those that haven't seen it, I'm just going to go and pull that up again and show you guys what I mean. This. Let's jump across quickly.
Archangel, Archangel, this is Krugeri.
Come back, Krugeri.
Redirect to sector 7 Bravo.
You can knock that down a bit.
Copy that. On our way.
Okay, so what we're looking at in the background is you've got a couple of Bengals. You've also got the Bengal cruisers. So yeah, I mean they have shown there was concept art from it from a long time ago. So which is effectively the really big turret that's on the bottom of the Bengal. They just inverted it and put 2 on the top, and they are size 12 railguns, I think. Right, there's a really good example. So you've got the Bengal, which is just by the Y. Yeah, I've just realised you can't see my mouse, which is no help. I might try and drag in a little window and just see if I can drag that around, and that might show you what I'm pointing at. Okay, so look at the top left of this. This is the stupidest thing I think I've ever done to show you guys what I mean. But basically, just up here, yeah, top left, that's the Bengal there that my thing is covering. We're talking about this ship over here. Yeah, and you can see exactly like the Bengal, very similar engine configuration, if not identical. Very similar bow, if not identical. Bridge looks very similar. But what you can see on that one is 2 chuffing great turrets. Yep, and there are more of them to see as well as we go through this. You'll see, I think that's another one, top right. You've got a Javelin and then just kind of half on the moon, half off. That's another of the cruisers. Yeah, top right of the screen now. Another one of the Bengal ones. Even looks like it might have a turret on the back. So that's 3 of them, which is ridiculous. Yeah, very possibly Rash. But what we know about the turret on the bottom of the Bengal is that is a quad size 12. I forget what they're called now. They've got some horrifically nasty name, but they've got 4 size 12 railguns. So it might be the same thing. If it's bigger, then holy hell. I mean, what's bigger than a size 12? Other than a size 13, obviously. But you get my point, right? Yeah, so there's plenty of military reasons that you would do this, and you see this with the Anvil Spartan, the Basilisk, and that thing, the other one. Help me out here, missile one. Those, right? So you've got the Anvil, basically APC versions and the AA versions. The reason for that is it's so easy, right? If you've got one tank that does, or one vehicle that does everything, I need one transmission, one size of wheel, I need one gearbox, I need one power plant, I need one size of this, that, and the other that work across all of them. Whereas if I take, you know, 7 different vehicles and each vehicle is designed differently and isn't the same, I'm increasing the chances that if I lose one of those vehicles, that the components for that might not be useful to everything, and it might not be useful to anything else that I have. So I'm carrying a bunch of spare components that are not useful. And that's kind of the real world military imperative. And we see that through the Ambles, we see that through the Hornets. Yep, you've got the Hornet, Super Hornet, Ghost, Tracker. You've got all of those, all of the variants, because they work off the same thing. This is the reason why there's the Gladiator, right, which is designed off the same frame, same sort of components. Now, whether it actually the same components in the game is irrelevant, right? It's that kind of attitude to them working like that, and that's why we have one ship, many variants. You know, I mean, sure, it could also be lazy, 100% in a game, but I think that's quite nice in that you get certain ships that can be certain different things. So you see a silhouette of a ship, and I'm still not sure until I get much closer what it is. There's certain ships you don't want to have that happen for, and a really good example of this is the Cutty Red. You don't want a search and rescue aircraft looking identical to a military aircraft, like they do in the real military, because you're marking that out as a military aircraft first, which means it's not going to be treated as search and rescue. So yeah, things like the Apollo doesn't share its silhouette with anything else. The Medevac and the Triage are both medical rescue ships. So you see that you don't go, well, it could be carrying torpedoes, so I'm going to blow it out of the sky. You might decide to blow it out of the sky anyway, but you see where I'm going with that. So yeah, there's lots of that sort of stuff. Limited, get out. Just get out, dude. But the fucking Librea. You're a rotter. Yeah, so possibly 3 Bengal variants, says Jadamo. Yep, 100%. I think there's a couple other bits that they're talking about with that. So yeah, Ballista. Thank you, Jadamo. Thank you. Yeah, my brain, just not so much. To be fair, some of the Vandal capitals are enormous, so the big guns make sense. Yeah, 100%. You know, and you look at the large guns on a World War II battleship versus the far more common destroyers. They were over penetrating. They often, a lot of the shells would go through without detonating because they just didn't hit anything big enough to register as the armor on a big ship. So yeah, the Bearing 130mm shipbuster railgun system, upcoming size 12 ballistic shipbuilding. Yep, shipbusters. Boom. It's the reason the Hawk exists off-the-shelf parts. Yep, 100%. Yeah, so there's that sort of stuff. Some kind of strike carrier variant. I mean, it certainly seems to still have that ability to open up the front. That doesn't seem to be removed. I mean, whether that's going to be a through-deck thing now, or whether a lot of the space below those turrets are now taking up with the workings, the ammunition hoists, all the targeting systems, the magazines, all that sort of stuff is questionable, right? It might just be that opens up now, and that's the way to get ammunition in and out. And then the back opens up maybe as a shuttle bay, but it's not an all the way through thing. Don't know. Really don't know. All we do know is that if you go to the RSI website and you have a look at the funding tracker, they still talk about a bunch of ships that we haven't yet seen. The cruiser and the battle cruiser being 2 of them. They also talk about an escort carrier, which at the moment we believe to be the Pegasus, but the Pegasus is only 100 meters shorter than the Bengal. So maybe the Pegasus ends up being the biggest ship they sell to us. The Pegasus is about 900 meters long. It's huge. So you'd think between the 460 odd meter Javelin and the 900 meter Pegasus, there's a lot of room for other ships, right? So yeah, it's still bits and pieces for them to get into. The Aurora is a size 10 torpedo. Yeah, just in exactly the same way that every ship can be a minesweeper once, right? So yeah, okay. So that's kind of the flight side of it. The idea of precision targeting mode. Like I said, I've had a couple of goes at that. Not enough really to develop a go on it because I'm still learning the system. So I'm not going to say anything about it at the minute. There's nothing standing out enough that isn't likely a skill issue, other than as opposed to design flaws with the whole idea. Sebastian, you're very welcome, buddy. Hopefully, I've got a bit of a background as a naval officer, so I can throw these things in, and of course, real world military experience doesn't necessarily translate to a game, but I can at least give a perspective, right? And hopefully, it's useful and interesting to you. But you're very welcome, and always welcome to pop in and ask questions, dude. So appreciate that you have. Um, I think I saw a picture of the shorter variant on Astro Historian. Jadoma, if you can find it and throw it to me in Discord, mate, that would be lovely. I'd really appreciate having a look at that. Yeah, interesting. What's Rush sent me here? Size comparison between some ships. Oh, yeah. It's looking good. But yeah. Ooh. Uh, did that? Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. Oh, right. Ladies and gents, if you don't want spoilers, yeah, for the first day of the Invictus convention, please, for the next 90 seconds, don't be here. Skip out, mute and look away, whatever it is. I'll tell you when to start them, okay, but it's definitely going to be worth you not looking. Okay, so for those that do not want to see this, look away now. We'll see you again in 90 seconds. That's enough warning, right? Okay, thanks to Rash for firing this to me on Discord as we are talking. This looks to be the Bavik Convention Center because it's at ArtCorp this year. Lineup. We have, unsurprisingly, down at the bottom, yep, we've got the hologram areas. So Perseus, Zeus, and Origin are all still down there. And I don't know if you can see what's in the center of that, but it looks like the RSI Polaris, which is kind of crazy. Okay, then for a size comparison, this is quite cool. So apologies. Hopefully, Rash, you've not had any sort of naughty windows open on this because I'm just going to open it. But there's your size comparison. There or thereabouts. That is some cray ship size. That's absolutely mental. So yeah, some serious bits in here. We got to go back again to the 90-second stuff. But what are people's thoughts on that? What do we think? Just making sure that I'm in the right place. Because otherwise I'll be in trouble. No, compared to the 890 jump. No, I'm not comparing a pleasure yacht, a capital class pleasure yacht with a capital class fighting vessel. Absolutely not. So yeah, the assault ship 100%, Sebastian. I really think we need that one. Notorious, good evening, buddy. Good to see you. Yeah, it's the Polaris is the perfect. Does my bum look big in this ship? And if the answer is no, I'm going to be very upset. So yeah, don't think it's going to be flyable. I mean, the fact that it's there in the hall. Has there ever been a time where we've had something in the hall? I mean, we've had stuff that hasn't been flyable because the Vulture did that, right? But we were able to walk around the inside of it. So, will we, do you think? Has there ever been a time where we've had something in the hall that we couldn't walk about inside of? The Idris once. Yeah, interesting. Um, okay, so it might be then. It might be in there, but I don't. Was that recent? That was a long old time ago, right? Yeah, Redeemer. Good point. Yeah. So maybe we'll get to look around it again, and it'll be like, "Hey, it's coming soon.com." Because the other thing, we've got to look at is the other ships that um are coming, or we think are coming with Invictus, so we can transition onto that shortly, and then go back to some of the other changes within 323, and hopefully I can do a little bit of gameplay, which will be exciting, especially with the optimization that they've done. So yeah, so let's have a look then at a couple of the other ships, and again, this section will be spoilers, so there's lots of images and stuff, so please just be aware of that. But we're going to spend a couple minutes talking about this. So this is the Saber Raven. It was a ship that was shipped exclusively with the Intel Optane SSDs, and under agreement, it will only be shipped with that. However, it looks very much from a leak. What I say, a leak. It's one of those like sneak peeks, glimpses of it. It's basically the rear section of that where you've got the holes through the wings, um, but with red accents rather than blue. I've heard things called the Firebird and the Phoenix, but it looks like the Saber Firebird or the Saber Phoenix. Looks very much like we are getting some version of this, and there are rumors that it's going to come with a quantum snare. So yeah, we'll see. But yes, so Aegis Day, look out for something like that. Another ship to add to the Saber family from the Saber Raven and the Saber. No, CIG, you promised. I hope it's called the Firehawk because of World War II reference. Yeah, and Firehawk just sounds better than Phoenix, right? Am I alone on that? Firehawk better than Phoenix? Is that what I feel like that would be cooler? But yes, they were showing lots of emojis of birds and fire. So I'm hoping that it's Firehawk, not Phoenix. But we shall see. So we've got this one, and then the next thing that I wanted to show you guys was this. Okay. Don't know how real these are. These are just something that I saw out on Facebook, as you can tell by the icon in the top left. But these are allegedly skins that are coming to certain ships as of this Invictus. Okay, so we've got something like that for the Vulture. There's something similar for the Corsair, which is almost like a graffiti style. Although these could just be skins for static models as well. We're not sure yet. We then have skins for the Cutter, and well, Ursa Medivac, which I think we have all come to realize that is coming. If you haven't, there's images of this in the trailer. You can see behind someone in one of the shots on the video, there's an entry. There's a ground vehicle with the door open, and the inside looks very much the same color scheme and the same sort of objects that are in the back of the medical Pisces. And this looks about right. So there's a couple of skins for this thing. And I will, yeah. So, good evening, Bloodsnut. Good to see you, buddy. And sleep well, my friend. Yeah, we've seen Nursa. The other thing I've seen is the Ursar. So instead of Ursa, URSAR, search and rescue. So that's kind of cool. The Nurser is the only name that she'll have. But the chat has spoken. It is now the Nurser. Yeah, 100%. So it's looking very likely. And then we have, stop me if you know this one, MPUV skins, of which there are 3. Kind of liking all of them, if I'm honest. They're doing a really good job. If those are legitimate skins of those 3. So they look great as well. And it looks like Argo, MPUV at the same time. So that'll be quite cool. Yeah. So the first day, the one that we looked at was Argo. We have 3 MPUV variants on that form. Just going to switch you back across again. MPUV, MPUV, MPUV. So cargo, personnel, and T, which tractor beam, potentially. Towing, don't know, but looks like there are now 3 variants of that. So that's kind of cool, along with the SRV as well. Oh, spoilers, by the way. Sorry about that. Oops, that's a couple people upset. Sorry. So yeah, and there's also a huge amount of ships outstanding as well. Huge amounts of ships outstanding. So yeah, we've got the Legionnaire, we've got the Zeus. Just thinking about, we got the Mirai large fighter, whatever the hell that is, that was on the forums. We've got, the Polaris still needs to arrive. There are lots of ships yet. There's still the G12 that's outstanding. We know that after the Polaris, we've got the Galaxy, then the Perseus, if that's the right way around. And then they're going to continue on through the RSI ships. They've got a lot to be getting. The Arastra, I think, is the one after that, potentially. Yeah, so they've got a lot to work on. But those ships, the ones that I mentioned, the Legionnaire, the Mirai large fighter, whatever the hell that is, we've got the Zeus and all that sort of stuff, was all stuff that was pegged to the Polaris as well, was pegged to come out by the end of this year. So it looks like IAE is going to be bumper for lots of stuff. There's an awful lot of stuff that needs to come out if they're going to deliver on it all. That's going to come out throughout the year, and of course, there's still the unannounced, which we've seen in the roadmap reports. They are still working on unannounced vehicles as well. So there's loads of stuff still going on, and I don't really kind of want to speculate on any more stuff, if I'm being honest, just because. That feels like enough. Ursa Rover, MPUV, the Polaris, we've got the Mirai and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, the Banu Merchantman, I think what we're seeing with a lot of this stuff is that it's being released with its gameplay, which is why it's interesting to have the Legionnaire in there, because it must mean that hacking gameplay is on its way at some point. That's going to have to happen, which is interesting. They've got a lot of stuff to kind of get on with. So, yeah. Is the Banu Merchantman a capital ship? Well, now you're asking. I mean, my guess at this moment would be yes, right? That would be my feel. But I'm just going to have a look. I'm going to have a look at the. Let's have a look at the ship. The Matrix of Lies, as it's been christened, and see where it lands. I think it's very, very likely that it's going to end up, even if it's not already, it's going to end up as. Let's have a look. Bally Motion. 150 meters long. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the key bit. I mean, yeah, Idris size. Exactly that. Idris size. Um, so it's 150 meters long. The Idris, obviously, depending on the version that you have, will affect the length. But it's bigger than the Idris because the Idris is only 126. So yeah, I would suggest that it goes into the realm of capital, heavy freight, right? Is its class. So yeah, I would go with capital class. In terms of CIG's kind of classification for it, what they've said is anything with capital class components is a capital ship. In that respect, it is not, because it doesn't have capital class components. However, that is according to the Matrix of Lies, which is so far out of date for the Matchman, it is untrue. So I wouldn't take any store from that at all. I really don't think that that's going to affect anything. I mean, it's up to them, right? Maybe Banu have a different way of classifying stuff. There's always the alien get out of jail free card. That's what I was struggling with so badly to say. But yeah, I'm just going to watch the stream quality very carefully, because what I'm going to try and do now is I'm just going to boot up the game, because there's a couple of things that I want to show you. And if it turns into kind of PowerPoint Star Citizen, then we'll come back. But yes, let's have a look and see where we land. I'm hoping that it plays. The BMM is more similar to the Privateer now. Yeah, very much so. So it wasn't so much that the artist quit. I don't think they had members of the ship team quit. So they basically lost a third of their staff whilst the BMM was being worked on. So they went from 21 down to 14. So the BMM, I mean, it might have been the artist or the guy that was working on it at the time. I don't know if it was the artist. It was a guy that was working on it at the time, was potentially one of the ones that quit. Now you say that, it does sound about right. But they basically had to streamline stuff and to hit all the other stuff that weren't coming out. The other thing we've got to remember is that one of the things they want to do is they want to make sure that now, when ships are released, we have the gameplay for them. And there's no shot gameplay yet. And that's going to require quite a bit of engagement and quite a bit of work. So I think that's probably why it's being held back. If anything, given the fact that they've said to us that the Legionnaire is going to be out by the end of the year, I think the focus is probably going into the hacking tier 1. So yeah. Yeah, owning a capital is an attractive prospect, and you need to do mentions or crit tier 0 or crit. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Alchemist. Good evening, buddy. Good to see you. Shinobi Trip says banning matchman is big in the 890 jump. 100%. I'm hanging on to my $330 banning matchman for the next 5 years. Wiggy, 100%. I'm right there with you. But yeah. So let's see where we are. I am really, really hoping that this will play. But I'm going to jump across very quickly and see. Now, I'm probably don't know how much of this is going to work, whether you're going to get the sound, and if you are, how loud it's going to be. So if it ends up being too loud, please let me know in the comments, and I will do something to fix it. Chris, all the best, mate. Yeah, good to see you, buddy, and we will catch up soon. We got a lot to chat about, but yeah, I hope you're well, mate, and love to the family. Okay, let's do this. Hey, check us out. We have a stream. I'm hoping this plays well enough for you guys at the moment. So this is on the Vulkan API. Really nice kind of frame rates whilst I'm stood in my hub. Some very obvious changes for those that haven't seen this yet. But obviously you've got your compass bearing at the top, you've got your mini-map top left. We've got messages to the left-hand side, and so on and so on. Let's just very quickly see what sort of server health we're getting. So yeah, we're getting a few frames while we're here, which is great. Bandwidth in is looking all right. Yeah, we're doing okay. Server FPS is jumping between 8 and 12, so we can do that, right? But you'll see straight away the changes are in. This is obviously more for the people that haven't seen it. But we'll have a run around. Lots of the gear storage stuff that's being brought in. And this is where you can just kind of go. In a 23-point patch, we're going to be able to just grab some gear without having to go to cargo areas. So yeah. Brave to be using Vulcan. Well, I thought I'd give it a go, Step, and you know, just see where I land with it. You know, we'll see with the FPS. I mean, the FPS always takes a hit because I'm streaming through the same PC, so this is always going to be worse performance than I am used to whilst playing the own game. But having said that, it looks like it's coming through all right to you guys. Just flag it up in chat. You know. Core hacks pre-recorded. I felt like you got into the game. Shinobi, tell me to do something. You decide what it is I need to do, and I will do it for you. But yeah. So I don't know. Press space. Here we go. Here we go. I got you, boo. Ready? Hello, Shinobi. Oh, I can't spell. Shinobi, this is absolutely pre-recorded. Hashtag, I don't know. Yeah, that. There you go. Ta-da! There you go, buddy. I got you. See? We're all over it.
Welcome to the ASOP vehicle retrieval system.
Told you it was all pre-recorded, mate. I'm not even here. I'm watching this with you guys. I'm in chat. I'm one of you. Just got to guess who it is. Okay, so Hangar 2, like the mini map. What I find really interesting about the mini map is the mini map looks great. I've also not used it at all. So yeah, like it for me, it doesn't really do anything other than look great. Paid actor, says Kendron. Yeah, 100%, right? Maybe Shinobi is me. Maybe that's what it is, right? So maybe I'm talking to myself, and that's how I pre-recorded this. See, clever stuff. But yeah. So let's have a quick jump around and fly around. What's interesting is the interacts don't always show up. They most normally don't show up on stuff that it seems to need some work. So here you don't get the interact option. It doesn't come up, and I guess that's probably because I've got other options potentially. Or on some of these they've got light switches. I don't know. So yeah, the minimap thing, whatever, right? It's great. It's great to have it there, and it does become useful in the location that we're going to go to in a second. Minimap is good for knowing if you have a helmet on or not. Yes, 100%. Not that I would ever go outside without my helmet on, of course.
Crusader.
So yeah, I'm actually quite pleased with how this is performing right now. It's looking alright. I've said it now, right? It's going to be like, and it's going to give it a break or something. But yeah, one of the things that I really want to do in this show is these distribution centres. I don't know if anyone's been there yet. I know a couple of us have. It's really, really kind of cool. One of these days, I'm going to get a hangar that my ship will fit out of without bouncing off the side. go. Lovely jubbly. Right, so while we're doing that, not been to a... Mate, DC looks awesome. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and get one on the sun side.
Thank
So
you.
let's have a...
Please visit again.
Logistics depot. I think that's it. I think that's it. Someone confirm if I'm correct there. But I think... Oh, logistics depot, and there's a distribution centre here. So let's go to that, because that's definitely what we want, right? Here we go. So yeah, time to do some nav mode fun. Yeah, cheers, Mashu. Thanks for coming in, buddy. I'll catch you in a bit, right? So I've knocked all the graphics down a little bit for this because I know my frame rate struggles.
Quantum travel engaged.
Whilst I'm streaming this on one piece. But let's go and have a look. The one thing I haven't done yet is I haven't kind of done all the EVA stuff, and I want to have a look at that in a little while. But yeah, I don't know if I have time actually. I think the default F options inside some ships are just a late rollout problem. Yeah, 100%. And they're adding it, and it's all working very well, and it is working very well, and I'm really pleased to see it working. But let's see, is it visual from here? You can kind of see it there, right? But we're gonna zip down there in nav flight mode, which is interesting. So I don't know if you saw that then, but nav flight mode was still showing the SCM speeds and stuff. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can see this. You can kind of see it there, just about. It doesn't look that big compared to the major landing zones. It doesn't look that big, and then it just keeps getting bigger. There you go. We've got some lights now, and then you begin to realise just how big this place is.
Please proceed to assigned landing bay.
You're getting some of the messages up. At the moment, I think they're armistice zones, so you don't really get to engage in any action. But they are full of loot, and they do have their own local inventory, so you can just transfer everything to the local inventory. And then you can... Spirit, I'm loving it, Notorious, at the moment. I don't know if I'll keep it, but I am really enjoying it. Let's go and have a... Interesting. So this one is different to the one on Hurston, because what the one on Hurston had is out front here, under where I am at the minute, it had a massive hangar. It didn't have all the tanks doing what they're doing. There is a bit of stutter. Again, I'm streaming on one PC, so I do apologise that it's not buttery smooth like some streamers. But we will get there. And then it doesn't look that big, again, from this location, until you start to get down here. And then you realise just how big this place is. Right, my bad. Okay, let's go and have an explore.
Engines off.
I like to have the option to click close on a ramp that's in the process of opening and not having to wait it opens. Yeah, being able to change your mind about something opening would be useful, right? 100%. So what's really cool about this, because this one does have it. See you later. is just how big and already fleshed out all of these locations are. Right? This isn't like the rollout of the major landing zones that we saw, especially Microtech, where only parts were open. Yes, there are areas that are locked off, 100%, but they're not as big as you would expect. So some of this stuff is locked off. Yeah, and we can't access it. I can tell you that because there's the red light at the top. So I can't access whatever that is, if it's ever going to be accessible at all. But a lot of these things are already working. Yeah. This stuff is just, yeah, 100% wiki. When I first started playing Star Citizen, I was on a 970 amp. Well back in the day. And then I upgraded from that to a 3080 just to show you how long it was. And this is why a lot of my videos I was getting accused by people of I was being another board gamer. I was using a lot of kind of background footage, and the whole reason is no one wanted 10 frames per second game footage, right? Yes, that is a fully workable Ursa. We'll go jump in that in a second. But this, right? We got people running around doing their stuff. Yeah, all this is maneuverable, roundable. Yes, that is lootable. And the new loot system is tasty. So yeah, I've got some Copian horns. You know, you can take all. You can take what you want with a shift click. You can swap it out if you want to. The only bit I don't like about this is there doesn't seem to be a button that gets you out. F worked then, sometimes it doesn't. But all of this stuff is mantleable as well. So you can jump over, you can climb, you can do all that sort of stuff, right? If you could do it in the other locations, you can do it here. And it just looks like there's so much work. Shady Phase, good evening, bud. Good to see you. So much potential for these locations. Now we need to derelict ones that players can take over. Yeah, right? Ones that we can own and be absolute nightmares on. Yeah, absolutely. But just incredible. Everything, almost everything in here is mantleable. You know, NPCs are actually walking around and doing their thing. Some of them are being a bit janky. But I tell you what I did see, and you're not going to believe me, but I'm going to show you anyway. I saw, are you ready for this? I saw NPCs sat down in their proper places doing proper things, which is kind of cool. So yeah, just incredibly big locations, you know, stuff hidden all over the place. Yes, that ladder works. Everything's in, right? I spent about an hour exploring one of these locations earlier on today, and I barely brushed the surface. Yeah, I literally barely brushed the surface. That's not an exaggeration. It's just crazy, the size of these places. You know, you can see how it's all going to work, and you know, it'll be really good to see these things kind of working and operating as locations that are, you know, bustling and peaceful. It'll also be great to see them ripped up and blown to pieces by people. Good evening. Yes, yeah, 100%, Shinobi. Good evening, Malbodicast. Good to see you, bud. Yeah, just crazy kind of everything's mantleable. Almost everything's mantleable. I found something that isn't mantleable, as I said that. Probably because they don't want you in there. But yes, you can go right to the top of that. Again, everything. If there's ladders and walkways, you are supposed to go there. I'm just kind of keeping a bit of an ear out, because the last time I was in here, I almost got run over by a bunch of rovers that were racing each other around. But I think we're all right. I think we're pretty much deserted here. There's some really cool features inside as well, so I'm kind of keen to transition you in. I realised that the Spirit was too big. The last time I came in a Gladiator and parked up top. But you guys need to see this. This is absolutely incredible in here. Absolutely incredible. So you have your entranceway. Again, all vehicle fitted. They've got barriers to stop the big vehicles doing the stupid. You've got security and whatnot. You've got lift spaces. You've got all the good stuff, right? This brings me to one of my other criticisms of this game at the moment, is that they've obviously done work on the lighting, because now as I run round, you can see the effects of different lighting on me. You can see, you know, if you've got different lighting on different sides. It's a lot better than it was. But it does feel like the overall lighting level is too low. And I'll show you what I mean by when we go upstairs and we have a look in the main hall. But this is obviously one of the vehicle entrance halls. We're then moving through into the logistics areas. So some of this isn't accessible yet. Don't know if it's all ever going to be accessible. But again, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger the more you move around and see all the different locations. And what I really like about this is this. Yeah, if you're trying to find stuff, it kills your frame rate a bit. It really does. But that's your interior. So we know now then to go and do some of the good stuff. We want to go through here. And this is, right, Wiggy, and this, it just keeps getting better. So this is the ADP, this is the Morozov Brush Drift, which is for sale at Everest Harbour above Lorva, Preston. Yeah. This is, remember when they showed us this, they showed us the huge platform that descends further into the facility. This is it, right? So you've got a control room up there, obviously not modelled, because once again the windows are blacked out. And this is what I mean about everything just being a little bit too dark. Okay, but here's the platform. It goes down up the top of the ramp. There's all the other ramp bits. There's the bit that goes down. There's your barrier to stop people driving off the end. Yeah, just incredibly large locations. Just bonkers. Absolutely mental. And what's really cool, I'm going to see if we can find one. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. I think they might be different in each location, which makes them slightly harder to find. But there are some really nice little bits to find as you go around as well. Basically, alternative methods of moving around the vicinity. Right? Yeah, and it's just going to keep getting bigger as well. If I run back down very quickly, so here's the main kind of, you know, kind of ramp control area. I don't know if that's what you call it, but that's certainly what it feels like. We've got some open elevators for some reason. If I run this way. Oh, the on-call area is like a crew room. That's exterior cargo. So, inventory center, on-call area. Let's go inventory, I guess. Like, it's so easy to get lost in this place. There you go. And this is what I mean about things feeling a bit too dark. I mean, I get that it's supposed to be an engineering space. Yeah, and then you're into storehouses that are absolutely massive. And these are where they were saying about all the things that you can do. You can grab the SCU boxes, that sort of good stuff. There's other accesses. See if I can find you one, because they are really, really cool if you can find them. But basically there are little circular fans that are kicking around, you can actually cause them to retract and open up new ways of moving around the space, which is really, really cool. There's a button at the top of it, and you top it, and all the fans stop spinning, they all fold up, and it just retracts. You go through it, and now you're in crawl spaces. Just utterly huge. And this is one of many such inventory rooms. This is the only one. There are a number of them in each location. There you go. That might be it. There you go. Fan going. Fan not so going. Into your crawl space. Opens up new areas. And this, I haven't tried this yet. Okay, which is really cool. But I have a feeling, if you look at this, so this is locked, right? Yeah, alright, Wiggy, we'll catch you in a bit, mate. They look very much like prime candidates, because this is locked, for the Oxy-Torch cutter attachment for the multi-tool. That's what they look like to me. They look like something that's supposed to be interacted with. So I'm going to come back and try that at some point and see if that works. But that would be really cool. I mean, it might not, right, because it's not open. I might be wrong, I might be right, but it's not open yet, blah, 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 blah. And then once you're done... You're going to let me close it? There you go. Again. Yay. Yeah, incredibly huge locations. I'm going to see if we can get us up to the hall now and show you some of the main hall, and then we'll get out of here and go from there. Just blown away by the level of effort and the fact that almost everything's manageable. There's loot all over the damn place, and you know, as you said before. Go through there. It's this way I want to go. Yeah, I never got round to playing Pyro Arcade, so I'm really looking forward to it when it finally does hit. I'm hoping it goes to. I'll download the test branch for that for sure, right? But yeah, looking forward to seeing that. You then go through a security checkpoint here, and then you go up to the main floor. And there are, as you go around, just all these nooks and crannies. There's all these different spaces that we go through. And then up to the lobby. Now, let's see. Will the NPC, or will the NPCs in this make a fool of me, or will they prove me right? I wonder. Let's see. So this is different. This is a different layout and a different interior style to the ones at Harston. The ones at Harston are Sakura Sun, which is, I don't think, a company that we've seen working in the verse before, which is incredible. But they have a very different interior layout to Kovalex, which is what this is. Yeah, these two are still doing weird things. That's what they were doing before. Looks like we've had some delivery missions. Even some of the furniture is different. That's interesting. So the tables look different. They look nicer at Sakura Sun than this. But let's go this way, and I'll show you the way out onto the top part of this, because there's some really nice touches here. So you've got a locker room. Yeah, full of all your mod cons, your toilets, and your everything else, which is really nice. We also have an employee lounge on the other side. There you go, complete with sleep pods. Yeah, your lounge area, your eating area. All very cool. And some of these places all tunnel systems that let you into crawl spaces and everything in behind. So moving around the facility a little bit more stealthily, engaging in that kind of non-confrontational gameplay. All sorts of this stuff. The beautiful thing about that now tier is that hopefully now with the new interior mapping system and stuff like that, it won't do anything like that. Even with large technical spaces like it, you know, like this, we should be able to find our way really, really simply, which would be really cool. I'm purposely not looking around because I think this is far more kind of sexy when you see the whole thing at once. Yep, there we go. Just making sure I don't inadvertently run off the edge because of it. But it's only when I stood here that I realised just how big this space is. This is one side of this thing. One side. And then it's mirror on the other side. There are vehicle hangars all over the place, or vehicle garages rather, all over the place. Again, mantleable. Worst parking ever for a Hawk. Just rubbish. Yeah, just incredible. What a location. Absolutely unbelievable. Walkways down, around, all over the place. Just incredible. Sniper's Paradise as well, right? You just got some amazing sight lines. But to know that all these vehicles are there ready to go, you know, also kind of location specific vehicles now, it's crazy. Just crazy. They've said, and I fully believe them, these are the largest locations in game outside of major landing zones, and they feel bigger just because it's all compacted into one area. Just incredible. Almost an almost ideal teeing off point. Yeah, if into that golf weirdness, I'm sure it is. Oh, I thought I'd just, I thought I'd just fallen through the world. Then that would be a way to end the stream, right? But yeah, I don't think we can get back into space to be able to test the EVA stuff, right? But just incredible. Imagine when all this is finished in 50 years, says Eric. Yeah, a lot of us don't have 50 years. I don't want to think about how old I'm going to be in 50 years. I don't want to talk about it. But yeah, just incredible. You know, I think to sum up then, I'm just going to come back to the chat window, I think, because that's a better way of doing this, right? Here's my thing with 323. So 323, they delivered a lot of what they promised. We were obviously still waiting on modularity. We're still waiting on instance hangars. We're still waiting on cargo, freight elevators. We're still waiting on that inventory system and all of that stuff. And that stuff's going to be really key, really important. The key thing to remember here is that alongside all of the stuff that is smashing us in the face, distribution centers, master modes, star map, all that sort of stuff, there is an entirely separate technical step that's gone in there. So when I first came on, it wasn't a great experience because the servers were overloaded. There were long wait times for, you press a button, then you wait for something to happen, like it was a little while ago. And I've said this a lot with Star Citizen recently, since 3.18, is that there are going to be patches where the changes are so technical that they are going to have similar effects to what 3.18 was going to 3.18 did to everyone. Thank goodness this isn't one of them. But there are going to be times, but it does affect your enjoyment, right? So yesterday I stopped playing because it was getting frustrating, and I tried to get out of my Hornet. I'd switch the engine off on and off like 5 times, and held Y a bunch of times. So basically, as I got out of the ship, my engine spammed on and off 5 times, and then I died. Like, ta-da! So yeah, and that's incredibly frustrating, right? I've had one where I landed on that pad behind us. As I got out of the ship, I just got, with the engine off, I got bounced 2 kilometers in the air and then got out of my ship. You know, when you just like, I don't need this right now. So they talked a little bit in that video on Friday about how they are having this problem where things are backing up. We don't know what the solution is. Clearly, they haven't solved it to 100%. It may well be a simple solution. It just, you know, something being simple doesn't make it quick. You know, laying a patio is fairly simple, but good luck doing that quickly. So yeah, there's that sort of stuff. So we'll have to see what they'll do to fix it. But yeah, I'm very impressed with the patch. It's just going to take a little while. It does feel a little bit like a different game now that we're running around. The looting system is slightly different. It still feels like they haven't quite let go of a lot of the old interaction system or even updated it. So it does feel a little bit like 2 systems overlaid. And I think that's probably the motto of patch 323, right? Is 2 systems overlaid. For a lot of it, I think that's the case. You look at the Mobiglass. The Mobiglass has got this great, awesome... Oh, I did that. I randomly dropped a thingy, right? But I'm just going to take you back to this very quickly. Yep, you've got this wonderful curved look in the game, right? We've got health. Again, looks wonderful, looks curved. You've got your contract manager, curved. Again, look at all this stuff. Fantastic. Open it, find out what's there, have a read, really, really quick. And then not curved, looks exactly the same as it did before. Yeah. Not curved, looks exactly the same as it did before. And I think that's very much the same. And you can't, you know, you can't blame CIG for that, because there's going to be things that are coming in the pipeline, and, you know, why waste time on polishing something you'll know you'll get rid of? Just bring the new thing in. So I don't have an issue with it, but it does affect the feel of the patch. It can be both things at once. Sure, I get that you're not changing it, and I understand why you're not changing it, but not having it all implemented at the same time changes the feel. And that's certainly my overriding feeling for master modes and stuff like that. So yeah. But hopefully you guys have enjoyed that. Seemed to run really well, actually, for the stream. So I'm hoping that that will continue to do so, compared to some of the screenshot stuff we had before. I'm just going to get out of that quick game to desktop. There we go. So hopefully that's improved the frame rate, and I'm back now. But yeah, it's really good. Yeah, ship management is going to be removed or changed. Yeah, 100%. Chat is awful, 100%. Nice to hear the collision craziness persists. I don't think it's ever going away. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, what I'm really hoping, Arcade, is that the in-game chat system gets replaced with something bespoke, that they work with someone who knows how to do that, and they implement a very useful chat system in the game, voice chat primarily. But we'll see. Yeah. Have you gone over all the ship vehicles that we're releasing at Invictus? Shadyface, just very quickly, the ones that we're aware of, and I'll skip the ads because they're coming up. The ones that we are aware of is obviously there is a slot at Invictus for the Polaris. It's on the floor plan. There's an MPUV tractor beam version. There's the potentially the Aegis, either Firehawk or Phoenix. We don't know what the name is. We just know what the emojis were they shared, which is birds and fire. So go either way on that. Or it might be something completely different. Firebird, Firehawk. There's the Medical Ursa, now called the Nursa, obviously. And, you know, obviously, although the Pulse is out, the Pulse will feature very heavily, I'm sure, as well. Those are the ones that we've covered. there's some skins for those that we had a look at as well, so you can pop back to this the stream and have a look. But yeah, thanks, Wiggy. Yeah, I'm really pleased that it's run the way it did. That was a pleasing turn of events. Ape in Space, good to see you, buddy. I'm buying this game for my grandkids, which are 2 and 1. By the time they get old enough to play in 10 or 15 years, the game should be about done. I think you're being a bit optimistic. But yeah, I get you. Absolutely. So yeah, that's where we are. I'm really pleased at the moment with how 323 goes, and the more that I get to test, the more that I'll have a look. I'm hoping to get some sort of video out at some point this week, and then we'll do a video looking at what is coming after 323, in this man's opinion. And the big features now that we've got replication layer, obviously server meshing is in there, but you know, that sort of thing to have a look at. A version of the Talon Strike. Interestingly, the one that I saw, Shady Phase, looked very much like a version of the Saber Raven. The one that was sold as the Octane thing. So they've obviously had to change it because they can't sell something that was exclusively available through an Intel deal. But yes, apparently it looks very much like that because the gaps in the wings look very much like that. But yeah, I'm really hoping to do that. Again, if you're looking to do Overdrive or just chat all things Star Citizen, there will be a link to the Discord in the description once I put this up properly. But yes, it's been a pleasure talking to you all and getting your thoughts too on Star Citizen. So thank you very much for bearing with me on that. I'm just now frantically finding the outro music in the background whilst doing this as well. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching Drinkers of Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.